Okay. Hello, everyone who may stumble upon this. I'm just gonna keep going with that. This is Yap Yap. And it seems kind of ironic, considering that I plan on making this video not for the playing of the game, as I will do for most of the other games of this channel, but it will be a mix of them both. But I'm gonna do this specifically to just talk, cause I feel like I just need to say stuff, and I don't really have anyone to do that with, so why not talk to a camera? No one can judge you here. If you're unfamiliar with the game, it takes spells and uses your microphone to cast. Like arrow. You can't see my microphone, but it's in the speakers. Basically the gist, I'm gonna go break stuff in there like Repo, except the goal is to break it for the money, not to keep it alive. Yeah, I hope this comes up well on the camera, but you can never really be too sure. My little thought in my noodle brain is emotional maturity, and I don't see anyone talk just randomly about their views on life, or at least understanding of what they believe it is, but I feel like I just need to say stuff about it. My personal view on emotional maturity is understanding where someone came from, despite the fact that you don't personally agree. Arrow. Yeah, breaking stuff. Understanding a person's point of view and what contributes to how they make decisions is really in-depth and can prove more emotional maturity in a human, and I feel like it's overshadowed in the fact that people are just vulgar and wild for no apparent reason on occasion, and they do have good reasons, but no one goes out of their way to state it. It's a weird world that we live in, truly, but I know one thing for certain, is that a human is, and a friend is, the events and stuff that you do around them. How you portray yourself and what you are doing in the active moments that you're in company can really impact how someone views you, and well, depending on how much you are moving or not moving in life can really impact your views, I would say. Arrow. But there's a very, very big thing that comes along with that, in that every single human, no matter what or how, is always changing. Very subtle or very big, always changing. On the inside or on the out, they change very subtly or very violently. But everybody changes, and they're always changing. And I feel like no one takes that into account when thinking of a character. Ooh. I can't. Yeah, I can fit more. Take it, for example. Whether you're present or not can really impact how you view a person or a character in your life, because that ever-changing thing, for as much as long as you're absent, you will slowly lose more and more of that character to your mind's stone set of what you last perceived them to be. Take, for example, oh, it's the bomb goblin. What's up, bro? Yeah, I'm gonna go this way. Take, for example, you are Medusa? Yeah, every time you look away from someone, they're stone. And that worked out in my favor. And every time you look at them, They're no longer stone. They're moving. They're organic. But your view on the person and your opinion and reasoning around that character has stopped. You don't see the changes going on. You don't know that they are changing. So to you, they're stone. It's really interesting. Arrow. Because not only would it explain so many instances of characters, well, losing their trust in someone and or gaining trust, because you're seeing the organicness in the person the next time that you saw them, and they're actively trying to change. And some people don't really get that. They're kind of bad at that, and in a way that makes me question how reasonable someone can think. Because if someone has that set stone, I know you kind of personality, like you're who you can't really change all that much. Arrow. You're the person I've always known you to be, despite the fact that you haven't interacted with this person in a reasonable amount of time, to the point where if you truly claimed that you know them, then you wouldn't not understand why they're doing certain things or making certain decisions. But you don't understand them. You don't get the reasoning behind their decision making, and it's wild to think about, considering that is how you should see people. They're always going to change. They're always going to have a reason for something, and if they don't have a reason, they're probably just lying about it. They don't want to give you the real reason, or they don't even know personally, because they're lying to themselves too. No reason doesn't exist. Tempest. And that's... people need to think about that more. There's a ton of gold in there, and resources. If you ever think of someone in the kind of vein as though they were younger, or have the different, like, abilities to tell this person isn't different to where they were before, they probably are. They just don't want to show it. Maybe someone doesn't want you to see the newer side of them because, well, they haven't talked to you in a while, and they don't feel like you're a part of their life enough to make it reasonable for you to have that kind of in-depth information on their going-ons. So if you come back to someone that you really liked or really understood, but you don't really understand why they're changed, but they don't seem all that different to what you thought they were originally, they're either most likely hiding it, or if they don't seem different in any way, shape, or form, they are most certainly just trying to, I don't know, not have you as in-depth in your life, well, in their life, as you should be. Oh, there's extract. Take, for example, you have a friend off in the coast, and you somewhat keep in touch via phone or, I don't know, voice chat, Arrow. Then keeping in touch with that person is all well and great, and you understand that person and still what's going on, but if they slowly lose that connection with you and you don't feel like they're the kind of same person that you would have vibed with earlier, then they just don't want you to be a part of that, or they just don't know that they're not including you because they don't know how. They don't feel like you're a big enough a part of their life to make that necessary, so they just kind of keep that information to themselves, which can be detrimental to friendships because you kind of need to share a lot of stuff to understand the going-ons in a person's head. Like I said earlier, people only know you as your moments around them. If you interact in a way around someone, you are. And each new iteration you are. and each new iteration or something that's different and breaks the status quo is just a new thing to analyze, something to think about, something that you are, something different. But if it seems severely broken, like you're trying to make it seem like there's nothing different about you in any way, they're most likely attempting to make sure that you don't see that. They don't want you a part of that. And that's really obvious when you take into consideration some other stuff. I don't have those wands. I could have that one, but that's 50 gold. Oh my gosh. In any way that you interact with character and you interact with person can vary in so many different ways depending on what they're thinking. And if you're not a part of that thought process, if you are only once remembered in a blue moon where they know you exist for a moment in time, you're not a friend. You're an acquaintance that they don't want to let down, so they continue. Arrow. I feel like people need to be mature enough to tell people, hey, you're not active enough in my life to be a part of my going-ons, and that makes you lack in my friends category. And it sucks because really strong friends can be a part of that, online, in person, no matter where you are or what you're doing. You could have a person just like that, Arrow, or just the opposite, where they're included in everything, where you trust them with your very soul, if they had the choice. But people don't express that emotion enough. People don't understand that emotion. Why? I don't understand people, because I understand the emotions. I am emotionally intelligent enough to see every single angle and every single human reaction. And I feel like I give people too much credit, Arrow. Because I see every interaction and I see whatever they're doing, and I know and rationalize based off of the other information around them. And or if it's really out of character and not normal to them, I question what could be wrong. If they're going through something, or if they're just having a bad problem, or not really knowing how to deal with something. I give people way too much benefit of the doubt. But that's also bad, because if they have no benefit of the doubt to reason with, it's just an endless charade of chicken. Arrow. And seeing that in other people kind of hurts. And I haven't in a while, because I can't really, but it feels like people nowadays don't Tempest. Understand each other, or give anybody the benefit of the doubt. Some people give way too much in my case, and some people don't give any. Arrow. And my understanding is everything is a balancing act. Everything. No matter what you're doing or how you're going throughout your day-to-day life, it's a balancing act. Because if you do too much of something, or little, it could hurt someone. And I don't want to hurt someone. And I don't think you do either. Even if you might say you do, or even if someone is really up there in your hatred because they do it. They probably just don't want to. They probably just want to avoid something else, or do something else that isn't going to remind them of life. And hurting is innocent life. and hurting is an escape from that. It's an addiction. Tempest. Arrow. Like many of a plethora of emotions, you could always understand why it's happening and who is feeling it, but you're never going to truly get it until you feel it yourself. And if you can't, it takes away from the experience, and it takes away from being human. I feel like AI wouldn't get that, and I'm not trying to make it a part of the conversation, but if there are a project that you're interested in, or if there's like art that you really understand, but you don't get how something else can look just as good and yet feel so soulless, it feels like there's no character behind it. Well, I'm pretty sure there's a good explanation behind it, and that is AI can't feel or interact or have memories, and memories is what your personality is built off of. Memories is all you are, because based off of your starting out personality, which I've dubbed the base purse, it will always change from the environment and the memories that you make. And depending on who or what you do around can severely change your personality in ways that you might not like, or you might like. Doesn't mean it's not happening. You gotta be kidding me. Okay. I really wish I could yell more, but there's a creature that's Arrow. More emotional maturity is meaning that you have more understanding of why someone did something. Epmorphis. Yay! They won't attack me as this thing. I can also break more things. And not enough people understand why people understand or are forgiving. But the people who don't forgive easily, the people who do have problems and don't have emotional maturity in the ways that they can't understand others and their decision making, is usually a product of development being skewed in their memories having something to do with that subject, such as a person actively stating that they have problems, but there's no reasoning or there's nothing to cause it. There is always something and reasoning behind it. Just not enough for a person to explicitly recognize at moments or at singular entities. Oh. Hey, yo, buddy, you good? I think my character's broken. This is actually a really neat side effect. I've never seen this. There we go. What's up? If you ever see someone doing or struggling or existing in a way that you know is out of character for them, either they've made a new memory and is pondering it, or they've had a memory and they didn't include you in it. And knowledge of everything and every action that they do, or knowledge of a lot of their life, can lead to you understanding the full picture of a person's character, instead of what some might call masks of humans that they tell people they are. Not truly understanding entire universe that's hidden and deep behind another person's eyes. It's so sad to see that humans can't comprehend each other, so in some circumstances they believe that just hating and or belligerent or having different people be the problem and not themselves, because they're never the problem, is so upsetting. Thank you, Moon Man. I kinda used the 30 gold. But if you ever look at someone and wonder what is happening behind those eyes, just think about what they've told you and think about how they act. Those are two extremely different things. Well, if they are extremely different, then most likely they don't like you. And if they're exactly the same, you should get to know that person better, because they want to too. That sounded weird. Wait, I could just look at it from here. Okay. And I feel... Godspeed, my friend. I feel we could all use some more joy and some more uplifting nature. 'Cause at the end of the day, all you really know and all you really see is moments captured in your mind as memories, slowly fading away. But if those moments and memories are more solid and more impactful, then you'll remember them more likely. Blast. And if we feel good all the time, then it fades the feeling of good. But if we feel mediocre all the time, we just feel mediocre. Arrow. It's like a weird disgustingness. It's not truly capable of going away. And it's so disappointing because there's so many good things that you can do and so many bad things that can happen. The one thing that really can't go away that easily is the one thing that we don't need to feel the most, because you can use blast. You can use anger and sadness as a stepping stool or a understanding. It's a tool. It's there to teach you, not to make you feel something bad for the purpose of feeling bad. It's there to make sure that you grow up to be a better person. And if you're not seeing that, you're just not emotionally mature enough to, or you don't want to, which both are reasonable but overall useless options, because the only true use out of an emotion is how you look at it in the future. Blast. That's a creature. I don't know if it's really a creature. Arrow. There we go. Blast. But yeah. Also, can I just take a moment to understand, what does a person do if not make more memories? And if you're not making more memories, what are you doing with your life? Sitting around? Existing? What kind of purpose is that? You're wasting precious time that this once-in-a-lifetime speck of dirt gave you, and you're using it to make less and less memories. Because the stronger the memory and the stronger the impact the thing had on you, the more likely you'll remember it. And if you don't have any emotional attachment or any reason to believe or think something, then all you're doing is just sitting there. Blast. Get it. you're gonna hate yourself for forgetting it, because that was seconds that you could have had with a loved one that you probably don't have access to anymore. Or it could have been seconds that you could have had with someone else, or yourself for that matter. Make way for a game that you had a severe impact from, or have some impact in some area of a park that you just think thoughts. But if you don't do any of that, and you just don't at all, Arrow, then what is your purpose if not nothing? Why, Arrow? And that's my reason, or at least a reason that you should take into consideration when I say stop watching shorts. Stop watching just mindless shit. Arrow. And if you ever have kids, or you do have kids, stop letting them watch that kind of stuff. Memories are makers. And if you don't have enough of them, or you don't sustain them in any way, what are you doing if not destroying what you're supposed to create, making you? You're just stagnating yourself, like a marriage that won't give on either end, and you're just unhappy. But you're not, well, no one's to blame but yourself. Because usually marriages are two-way streets where there's at least another person to blame for a stagnant area of their existence. But all you have is the reminder that you're looking at yourself, wondering, where did I go wrong? Why did I think or do that? But you shouldn't always think that way. If you ever feel as though you don't have the greatest purpose, or you're not understanding of your purpose, just take a second to remind yourself that those memories probably will never be able to be formed again, and the people who will live on without your memories, without your areas of expertise, will still have you in theirs, and still have understanding of what you impacted theirs, and they're still around. So what are you doing? Because if you're dead, what are you gonna feel? How are you gonna think? You're not. There is no brain function. There is no understanding. You are just a memory. What was, not what is. An afterlife could be a possibility, or a whole other world, or a whole other mind you can inhabit. But that's not you, because it's got none of your memories. Reincarnation doesn't happen because it can't be you if it isn't your personality, built brick by your memories. So in that light, you should always remember that even though bad times can and do exist, and even though hardships will always be a constant, always cherish every moment, because you'll never know when it'll end. And, well, we're not gonna get a second shot at it. Thank you so much for listening to me rant. I know it must not have been hard, but it's still meaningful to me that you would have the thought to even click on this. So thank you.